Well, how are you doing there, folks? What's the story? Welcome to Around the Campfire with the Cameo Gang. This week, we've got three brilliant little lassies having a chat with yourself. Sean McGuire, how are you?
Wait, hang on.
How you doing?
Who is this guy?
Well, you're always coming to my bloody cabin and giving me all sorts of crap, so I decided to come to your little campfire and kick a few stones around.
Oh,
that's so sweet. See, we were expecting her. We were like, oh no, it'd be like Nicola's, where she was just like, howdy doody. And I was just like, I have never heard that phrase ever in my life.
Well, how are you doing? Nice to finally see you all and meet you all. What's the crack?
I prefer meth. I'm just kidding.
Well, not that kind of crack.
Well, see, the funny thing is, we just joked that I wasn't going to be the stupid American, and then I was the stupid American. So
I've had stories about. I've told cops in New Jersey that the crack is great in New Jersey in the past, and they completely got the wrong end of the stick as well. So I wouldn't worry about it. There's nothing to claim today.
Well, just for the record, I feel like to save my own dignity, I just need to point out that was a joke.
For legal reasons that we will not go into, Jackie's lawyers have stated that she needs to say that was illegal.
She never inhaled meth. That's what she meant to say, yeah.
Yeah, I've never inhaled. Thank you.
Smoked it but never inhaled it, yeah.
So
how's it going?
It's going.
Good.
But Mick, I know that you're our biggest fan, and I know that sometimes meeting celebrities and meeting people that you admire can be nerve-wracking. So I just want you to know you have no reason to be nervous.
I've got a couple of pairs of Huggies ready in case I wet myself. So, yeah.
In excitement, I hope.
Absolutely. Is there any other kind of wetting yourself?
Oh no. Oh no, Jackie, please. We haven't even done our disclaimer yet.
Yes.
Come on.
Get the disclaimer out of the way.
As a reminder, everyone, we are not fit for human consumption. Also, this program might be a little bit more mature, especially considering the conversations we had leading up to this moment. So, if you're under the age of 18, please proceed with caution. And also, please don't do cannibalism.
Or meth.
Don't do drugs, children.
Don't do drugs, kids. All right. So, but in all seriousness, thank you so much for coming on. Like, it is just mind-boggling that this is happening right now.
It's my pleasure.
It is. It's. We can't tell you how much we're just, every time that she lets us know that you're just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard, and we're just like, thank you so much, but why?
Well, that's it. That's a simple enough answer to that. Is, I mean, I'm a firm believer that, I know I said it to Jackie on Twitter a few weeks ago, but it is the greatest shame in the world is to have a song and to never share it with the world, you know. And I think if one positive has come out of all this pandemic and all this, lockdown that we've all experienced the last few months, it's just seeing the amount of people out there who are just putting their creativity out there into the universe. And, you guys, the way you speak about the Red Dead Redemption community and the obvious joy and love you have for it, and the fact that it brought you three together, it's just, I think that's something that should be celebrated. And I really do. I just think it's fantastic that you're doing this. I myself, it takes a lot for me. I need to give myself a right kick in the arse to get up and do things a lot of the time. And when I see other people doing this, I think it needs to be embraced and shared. And kudos to you guys. You've taken this by the scruff of the neck and you're running with it. And fair play to you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Your support really does mean a lot to us all, Mick. So again, thank you.
Well, thank you. And just to reiterate as well, like the success of Red Dead Redemption 2 is purely, I mean, obviously Rockstar Video Games has got a lot of money, so they were placing a bet on something that they knew was going to be a winner anyway. But still, I mean, it's all down to the community. It's all down to you guys going out and purchasing the game and downloading the game and getting involved in it and keeping it alive. If it wasn't for all the people who were playing it all over the world, myself and everyone else involved would have been just a bunch of crazy people in scuba suits, you know, kind of talking to ourselves, playing cowboys and Indians, which is great. I never thought in a million years I'd make, you know, be able to make a bit of a living playing cowboys and Indians, but you know, if it wasn't for you guys, then that wouldn't be happening. So it's definitely a two-way street, big time.
Now, come on, Mick. You can be honest here. This is a safe place for all of us. You can be honest. We all know that you still wear the scuba suit.
Well, I do indeed. Yeah, I wear it everywhere. Actually, they're actually quite comfortable, and quite a few of us used to comment on how maybe, you know, in 100 years, this is what everyone's going to be wearing, and we're actually ahead of the curve.
Oh God, please no.
They're quite comfortable. Judging by how hard it is to get people to wear masks, it might be a hard sell to get them to wear scuba suits, but you know, they are comfortable and they're handy, except when you have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe if it like kind of made it trendy, like customizable scuba suits.
Yeah, mocap fashion. Yeah, I could see mocap kind of taking over the catwalks of Milan.
Well, you know, that's the funny thing is in multiple video games, one of which that I play is called Saints Row. Having a mocap suit is like on your character is actually an option, so it kind of was already there, and that's a legit costume that you can wear is a full motion capture suit, and I'm just like, why? Why would you?
That's so funny.
Why would you do that? So I did it once.
Actually,
but then again,
I have a funny one. Is sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
You're fine.
No, go on. I'm sorry. You just reminded me of something there. About a month after the game came out, I went to see Harren Atkins, who plays Lenny. He wrote a play as part of this festival at a theater here in New York that I went to see a bunch of the plays, and his was fantastic. But there was somebody else wrote a play about mocap, and it was about this guy in a mocap suit on stage. And then the second act was a bunch of dinosaurs dancing on the stage. And basically that's what the story was. And it was just uncanny to me that I was going to see Lenny Harren's play. And here's somebody writing about motion capture. So, you know, you'd be surprised where it shows up. Sorry for interrupting there.
You're fine.
No.
I was just gonna say one of the costume options is also a toilet. So I mean, I probably shouldn't be using Saints Row as a good example here, but there you go.
I actually came across something. What you were saying about a play that's like mocap suits, and then the second half is like people as dinosaurs. There was a skit that I came across on YouTube where it was a guy who was, you know, in a mocap suit, and he was pretending like he was a gorilla. And then he'd stand up and he was like, was that good? Was that enough? Do you need me to go a little bit more or a little less?
You need more gorilla.
More gorilla? Less gorilla?
I actually have a really funny story about a gorilla that I can't tell live on air, so remind me to tell you guys later.
Okay.
We'll get that one in later.
All right, so...
Yeah.
All right, so obviously there's some nerves going on, so everyone's going to kind of talk over each other. We're all excited. It's good nerves.
I think I'm the most nervous of all. Jesus Christ.
It's okay. Look, we're just normal people, Mick.
I know. Get the paparazzi away.
Don't worry, you know.
So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to put our timer on, so who knows when this is going to end. It's going on forever. Anyway.
Forever.
Oh no, but that would be bad because he's got a life and things to do.
Welcome to Hotel California. You can check in, but you can leave.
It's like
Hotel.
on Amazon again. Oh.
All right, so for our first question, Mr. Mick. May we call you Mick?
Absolutely. My friends call me Mick.
Shut up, Jackie. I knew this was going to happen. I'm so sorry. I have this weird, like, little, polite society tick where even if you tell me, oh, okay, you can call me Jackie, I will still call you Mrs. or Mr. or Miss. And I would be like, okay, Mr. Mick. And then that would be it. And she was like, oh, that's so cute. And I wasn't expecting her to send it to you when I sent the questions. And you leave my societal ticks alone, Jackie.
Okay.
It's wonderful.
Okay, look. In my defense. So what I saw was questions for Mr. Mick. Mr. Mick, may we call you Mick? I thought, because it was all sent together. She did not actually specify, hey, don't include that part. So, really, it's her fault.
Well, if you want to call me Mr. Mick, that's fine. But Mick is grand as well. I'm easy.
Okay.
I've been called a lot worse.
We've heard. We've heard.
Yeah, I've been called a hell of a lot worse.
Well, you said you said you're easy. We've heard.
Yeah.
Jackie, we might have to do a disclaimer again.
Disclaimer: we are not fit for human consumption. Anyway, that was the one we were talking about, right? All right. So obviously, you see that our art includes 3 animals. So you are now part of the Cameo Gang menagerie. So if you were an animal, what animal would you be?
I would be probably, you know what's funny? I've actually fantasized about being a duck. Yeah, a duck or a bear. A bear or a duck. I think because when you look at them, they look like they're so kind of peaceful and calm and everything else, you know, just lolling around. But underneath the surface, there's like all this manic shit going on. Like ducks, because they just skim across the top of the water and they look nice and peaceful. But if you actually see underneath, their legs are flapping about everywhere and it's all very manic. And yeah, and kind of the same thing with a bear. Like, you know, bears are big and burly, but they can move. And I think I can move. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So
probably a duck. I go with duck. Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually took bets on what we thought you were going to say. So, Catherine, what did you say?
I said that you would be a dog, so I was like a pug. Because pugs are cute.
That's...
All right, Nicola?
Well, I kind of look like a pug, you know.
You do not. Nicola, do you remember?
If you're asking me, I can't really remember what I did yesterday, let alone...
Fair enough. I said turtle.
Turtle. I like turtles.
So what we're gathering
Why?
here? I don't know. You just like turtles are adorable, but they're also like shockingly.
Like they're like ninjas.
Yeah, and they're like shockingly cool. Like
yeah.
And it's like, oh, you can get close to them and you can pet them. I mean, not that I'm saying that I'm close to you and I can pet you. That would be weird. But I really didn't put much thought into it. I'm literally just pulling facts out of my ass at this point. I just went, hey,
no, that's all right. I like a turtle or a pug. I could take those. I'm allergic to dogs in a big way. So I suppose if I was a dog, then I probably wouldn't be allergic to myself. So who knows?
That would be really. Maybe that's like the definition of depression. You're just allergic to yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, you're having an allergic reaction. So like
life.
Just your brain. Yeah, just life.
There you are, yeah.
Okay,
maybe we should do that on another podcast.
Oh wait, Nicola, I think I remember. Didn't you say like a bird, a woodpecker?
Yeah, I remember reading a Red Dead fan fiction where John was being essentially haunted by the fallen gang members, and they were, appearing to him in animal form, like they're spirit animals. And it was genius for how they wrote for Sean's spirit animal. They said that he was a woodpecker.
Second disclaimer, which just dawned on me, and we probably should have done this from go. Fair warning, there will be spoilers. We will try to keep them at a minimum, but there will be spoilers. So if you have not played the game, put this episode on pause and then come back.
Leave the room, and then come back later after you've
Come-
beaten the gate.
Or come back after chapter 3. You'll be all right then.
Yeah.
So, okay, so one of the questions that I wanted to ask that isn't on our list, so keep you on your toes. And I know you've probably talked about it a lot because like right now Red Dead is still a pretty hot thing. So, and you know, that's one of the things that introduced a lot of people to you. So for you personally, what has been the most surprising what has been the most surprising interaction or just the most surprising thing that has happened since the release of this game?
To be honest, I obviously had heard of Rockstar games. I remember playing the very first GTA back when I was very young on the PlayStation. I think it was the first PlayStation. So I knew who Rockstar Games was. I honestly didn't have a clue of the scope of how big it was. But also not just Rockstar, but also just the video games in general. I mean, I've enjoyed video games since I was a kid, but you know, when you stop and think that like Hollywood, as big as Hollywood is, you know, only a certain section of the world is into Hollywood and into Hollywood movies. There are other parts of the planet that have, you know, interests in other genres of film, and they've got their own forms of Hollywood. And to be involved in something like this, which is just, it touches all corners of the globe, if there's such a thing, was something that I still have a hard time getting my head around. Just the scope of it. I was actually home in Dublin the week the game was released because unfortunately my beautiful grandmother passed away the week before it came out. And so I was home in Dublin, and you know, all of a sudden I'm in another country in Europe and I'm walking down the street and there's a bus going by Trinity College, and there's like a 20-foot poster on the side of it of Roger's, you know, alter ego of Arthur Morgan, you know. And you'd walk by the local game stores, and even when the game came out, it was just wild. I had cousins who were buying it and they were calling me up saying, fucking hell, like we just rescued you, you know. And that was what was really, that was the first kind of shock at how big it was. And the second element that's been really just lovely and wonderful and surprising is just my world being opened up to an audience that maybe otherwise I wouldn't have ever had the chance to meet, in terms of like gamers and people who are really into this form of entertainment. And also just discovering how discovering the creativity that there is amongst people in the gaming community, like the amount of art, the amount of like fan fiction, like, you know, podcasts, seeing just how creative people are out there who are really into, you know, video game, and even outside of video games, even like the world of cosplay and stuff like that. These are things I would never have gone anywhere near anything like that, but for Red Dead Redemption 2. And I think they're the two main things that make me so kind of thrilled and happy. They've been the greatest rewards really for me in all of this, is the fandom and the community, and just my eyes being opened to, you know, a whole new kind of a whole new area of culture, really.
Yeah.
It is. It kind of turned into its own culture, yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember you guys talking about the fandom a couple of weeks ago on your very first podcast, and it's really beautiful, and it's very supportive as well. And I do think personally that it comes from the community, but I think there's also a lot to be said in the game in terms of just how the core, the Van der Linde gang is. It kind of creates that sense of family. Like, you know, we know the story goes tits up by the end, but there is this kind of like, you know, as they're losing the old way of life, and you know, this capitalist world is coming in on top of them, you know, so too their family is, the Van der Linde family has been torn apart. And I think that kind of resonates with an awful lot of the fans of the game.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, just with the what's the word I'm looking for, the differences that exist within the gang kind of make it a very welcoming place, I think, for people everywhere. And I think that's, I really do. I think it's something that's just amazing. It needs to be celebrated. I love it.
And
Yeah, there's.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I was gonna say because I think a lot of people see themselves in some of the characters, just the way that they not necessarily lived, but their personalities or their morals or the way that they think about things.
Hmm.
Obviously, if you think the same way as Micah or Phil, you may need to rethink. You may need to do some rethinking, but if you're just the way that you feel about society or just in general, just like there's a lot of things that need to be changed. It's not perfect. The way that Dutch or Hosea or Arthur were thinking about it, just that there's a lot of things that need to be changed, and maybe it's better if we just stay out of society. A lot of people, I guess, now are, especially now, are really thinking about that because there is a lot of things that we need to change as a society, as a community, especially
Yeah,
here.
Yeah.
yeah. It is. What's funny is, I mean, the one thing I will say about Red Dead Redemption 2 that is just thrilling for me because I love history. You know, they went to great. I think they did go to great pains to try to be as accurate and entertaining at the same time, but to be as accurate as possible to what the world really was like in the late 1800s. You know the fact that they were living in those days, like when Red Dead Redemption 2 takes place, that's also a turbulent time. It's a turbulent time of change. You know,
Mhm.
America has transformed from in the previous 100 years. Like it's gone through a civil war. It's gone through all sorts of stuff, and now it's arrived at this place in 1899, where the landscape is changing, and it's gone from the old gunslingers of the West to oil barons and tycoons and railway men who are making fortunes, and
Yeah,
they
You know,
really are. I mean,
Cool.
that was also a part of history where like what we're living through right now was very shaped by what was happening then, not just in America but all over the world. Like the immigration into America then, like we're still having this conversation 100 years later about immigration,
yeah.
and it's like this is something that's been a part of the fabric of this country for since it was conceived.
Yeah,
yeah,
Delaware.
And and I really love that there's those elements woven into the game, that it makes you think, it makes you kind of consider your own little place in the world, and that's yeah that's, I think there's some really important things in there like that. Very cool. So that's what I think about that.
Sorry.
it's okay.
The
For
best
I
those
part.
for
that
this I got to give you guys some disclosure right now. I'm actually standing on a roof of a building that I'm actually moving into soon, and I'm surrounded by air conditioners and all sorts of noise. So if there is any peripheral noise going on, that's what that is. I apologize for that.
So
it's okay.
basically, what he's throwing out there is it's not our fault. Just so we're clear.
Basically, what I'm throwing out there is that I didn't make enough money doing Red Dead Redemption 2 to build my own studio in my apartment.
So,
So I have
guys,
to
go
go up
out
to the
there,
roof.
go out there, buy the game, buy some merch. Let's get Mick a chicken coop.
Yeah.
Well, if not a chicken coop, if the zoning laws and building laws of New York doesn't allow it, then at least a pigeon coop. It's small.
A closet will do.
There's a joke there. I'm just gonna let that one go.
Yeah.
But yeah, the point that I was gonna make, one of the things that I think is so awesome is you often play a lot of video games where like the character is like super like super strong and super fast and super like powerful, and it's like it gives you that sense of power and immortality. So it's still an enjoyable experience, but it takes away some of the realism. And I think
Mhm.
that's the beauty of it, is not only is the character that you're playing very real, like he has very limited human ability, but the people around him are just as limited. Like I think one of my favorite points when I say that is the scene where Arthur, Dutch, and Jose are out fishing, and then they're singing, and none of them can carry a tune very well. And I'm like, that's really awesome though, because like
Yeah.
any other thing, it would have been like pitch perfect or like all this. And like the simple fact is, normal average people aren't like, they don't sing pitch perfect like they're in a choir. Like that's how normal people sing.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially when you're out fishing or you had a few beers, you know, absolutely.
Yeah. So okay. So because we are the cameo gang, I have to bring up a cameo that you did.
Okay.
Which just absolutely, I was in tears. So
Oh no.
you calm down. It's fine. I don't know why
Okay.
everyone suddenly got nervous.
Because we're the cameo gang for a reason. We literally were springing cameos on each other like it's like White Christmas or something. Like it's like some sort of white elephant gag or dirty Santa. Where we're just like, you know what? I'm gonna regift you a cameo from a person that you just sent me a cameo from.
Well, we've not done it in a while.
I
We
think it's
haven't done it in a
wonderful.
while.
I think it's so lovely that you do that.
We haven't. That's because broke. But but no, okay. So I actually got a cameo from you for Nicola, and you told the story about how you had spent like 3 days trying to save Sean,
Yes.
and then you just missed the whole party. So like all the work you did.
Yeah, it was kind of mad. I spent all this time saving Sean, and then I was so proud of myself. I decided to go off fishing for a couple of nights, for like the night. And when I got back to camp the next morning, everybody was hungover. I'm like, oh shit, I missed the sing song. I missed the session. I missed everything. I missed like the bit with Karen in the tent and all. Like, and I didn't, and I had it on autosave or something like that. So I just kept playing. But yeah, it was kind of funny. Most of the work that I did that I really enjoyed, which was that after party, I still kind of really haven't seen, you know, myself. I've seen a few scenes on YouTube, but it's kind of different when you're actually playing it yourself. So yeah. That's how I rolled with that one.
Well, and
I think
see,
my
oh, go ahead.
I
Sorry.
think my favorite Sean interaction in camp, it was with Hosea, because Hosea more or less went ballistic because he caught Sean sleeping on guard duty.
That's right. Yeah. I can remember the day Curzon gave me a smack around the head for that one. Yeah.
This has to be like, I can only imagine. I've never been involved in a project where like I got to see the behind the scenes and then the finished thing. But it has to be so weird because like when you're playing the game, you see the game and how it's been shaped and how the animators, you know, how much work everyone put in and like all the sounds that went into it. But like in the back of your mind, you must be like, he's wearing a scuba suit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. But to be honest with you, this game is so massive in terms of like the people who were working on it. I would get called in to do my bit of work, and I would literally come in, do what I had to do, work on the scenes I'd have to work with any of the other actors that I was dealing with on any particular day. And then like the work that was put in by all these animators, you know, technicians, like the crews, like the amount of lifting that was done on this. I mean, really, to be honest with you, as an actor on this gig, I had the plum job. I just came in, dressed up in a scuba suit and pretended I was a cowboy, played the part of being a cowboy, not a very good one. And yeah, I mean, the game is really like the sum of so many talented, creative people, like, you know, and they give the actors the tools to really, you know, do our jobs to the best of our ability. And Rod Edge, the director, and like his whole team, like they just gave us so much rope, and it was fun, you know. It really was. Every day I'd go in there, it felt like a little party. I'd drive out to the studio myself and just, yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing to be a part of it, and to see it then all come together in the very end was just mind blowing.
I can only imagine, especially on that massive scale. Like, and then like you're in scuba suits, and then you go, like, wow, so that's what I was doing. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, and again, I know it's been spoken about a lot how, you know, people refer to people in video games as voice actors, and we all get like the hairs on the back of our neck stick up and the fangs come out, because the work really was like the performance capture for me. was actually, and I've said this to a few people before, but to me, it's closer to actually working in theater, because you as an actor in performance capture and an actor in theater, like so much of it is imagination. So much of it is you're in the here and now. You have to suspend a certain amount of disbelief and just be in the moment. Whereas with television and film, very often, you've got your lights here, you've got that you're only shooting a 15-second bit or however long it is. Whereas this was definitely a lot more theatrical. And I do think that gaming is closer to theater, because I think that the audience is just so much more involved. You're not a passive, you're certainly not in gaming, you're certainly not a passive participant. Like, you are actively engaged, quite in the same way that when you go to the theater, what you're experiencing is very active. Like, it's colored by how your day went today. If you had a good day at work or a shitty day at work, if you had good news or bad news, and now you're having this experience, it's I definitely consider it close to theater in that regards.
Yeah. I mean, now that you've done, performance capture and stage, and I think you said that you were also on TV and some movies as well.
Yeah, a bit of television. Like, I've done a bit of work on television, like Law and Order and things like that, Quantico. Let's see, what was the other one? Elementary. I did a good one recently. I Know This Much Is True, the new Mark Ruffalo one. I had a nice little role in that, nice little scene in that, where I played a cop back in the 1920s. So I've done a little bit of television, yeah. But for me, most of my career has been about theatre, to be quite honest with you.
One of the questions that we had were just asking if, now that you've done, a little bit of each, which one did you prefer the most?
Whichever one pays the most.
Good answer.
That is a good answer.
If I can pay my rent, that's what the head says. But honestly, every gig is special. I've been very lucky in every project I've ever done, really, to have gotten on really well with my co-workers, with other people involved. For me, it begins and ends with theatre for me. There's just something about the rehearsal process and just the fitting in and out of a character. And it's not so much figuring out other characters, it's always figuring out more about yourself. Theatre for me is like 50% therapy very often. And the fact that you get to work on it every single day and you're given time and space is something that I really cherish. And it's also very, it focuses your mind in many ways. And I think Rockstar did a great job of really going after talent for Red Dead Redemption 2. There was a wide array of performers there, but I think everybody involved had like quite a good kind of, background in theater and stuff like that. Like, they were able to work and collaborate in groups together. So yeah, like, if my dream job would be to work in a theater for the rest of my life, putting on all sorts of new work, but certainly the likes of performance capture and television and film, they're all great skills and experiences to have also.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. Back in the early days, back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth and whatnot, back in March. Yeah.
Back in March, yeah. See, I've been listening. I've been a fan. I know what you guys are on about.
I'm so proud, and I'm so glad, because you know what? Even through all your nerves, you're still doing wonderfully. You're doing great.
Careful, Chris Jenner was a trademark to that.
You're correct. Okay, fine. My bad. Let me change that a little bit. Y'all doing great, hon. Steal that. I expect the accent in the correct place. Thank you very much. Anyway. But yeah, back in March when the dinosaurs and whatnot, back when you and I first connected to Twitter, which that blew my mind. I'll be completely honest. Like I when you followed me, I went, why? Why me? Because that's my reaction when things happen. Is just why. but you and I actually spoke about, you know, like being writers and being actors and being whatever, and it's like you don't necessarily know why you have the calling to do this, but you do it because that brings you some kind of peace, some kind of it's fulfilling.
Yeah. Yeah, I spoke to somebody about this recently, how like when I was young and I was in national school at home in Ireland, which is like it's like junior school or junior high or whatever you call it here. I was maybe 9 or 10 years of age, and I mean I wasn't the greatest student in the world, but the minute I got the opportunity to like go on stage, all of a sudden things just kind of seemed easy to me. And I don't mean performing, I mean all of a sudden, because I was doing musicals, you know, it helped me in terms of counting. When whatever the play was about, I was interested in the characters and the history of it and everything else. So it just, that was something that just kind of opened up the world to me. And I think that's my fiance Jessica is she has her own education company. She's worked all over the world with it, and she has a practice here in New York. And she's often explained to me that the key to, you know, reaching kids is to figure out how to reach them. And that's just how I suppose that's how I was reached. That's how they got me. And it just kind of makes sense to me. And, you know, the world makes sense to me as a play. Like things happen, I hear stories, and I think, well, how would that look as a play?
Yeah.
How would that look on stage, you know? And I think we all have that. I think, you know, some of us figure it out. Some people do, some people don't. Some people go with it, some people don't, and that's okay. But yeah, whatever kind of makes sense to you, it's kind of innate, and it's in us all, you know.
Yeah.
And I see the world. I see the world in the lens of, you know, a 1 or 2 hour play on stage, which
All
is
the
helpful
world.
sometimes because it's all the world's a stage, yeah, and which is helpful for me sometimes. But sometimes it's not so helpful because obviously reality kicks in, you know.
Yeah, reality kind of sucks.
Yeah, reality sucks.
So, I for those that can't currently see my screen, i.e. the listeners, I'm actually moving questions around based on the conversation that we're having, putting them in order because I like lists. And
Very good.
so I'm actually going to skip one of the questions and bring it forward because it perfectly ties into my experience into what we're currently talking about. So I did drama when I was in high school. And so the question that we have is the most embarrassing moment. Then it actually plays perfectly in because it involves the stage.
Nice.
This is when I learned actor I will not be, writer I can, actor I will not be. So we, like, in my drama class, we had to learn like how to project, how to work the stage, how to work your body depending on, like, we had a little suitcase and it was like, okay, pretend like this is heavy. And so it made you aware of your body and your surroundings at all times, which is a great skill, and I'm glad that I did it. However, the main grade at the very end of this experience was we had to put on a huge play. We had to, from scratch, write the play. We had to play, and we were a very small class because in my school, if you didn't play football, what was the point of being there?
Nice. Louisiana.
Basically, yeah. Well, that's pretty much what we're known for. Wait till the Saints start playing again. It's really bad. But anyway. So I actually helped write the play. And the whole story was trying to get kids interested in theater. So it was this kid that was like playing on their phone and wasn't paying attention. And so the teacher pulled this kid aside and was like, why are you just not paying attention in class? Why are you sleeping? And it's like, oh, well, acting is boring. And then we walk this student through like all the different historical aspects of theater, all the way from Greek tragedies into like more modern theater. And it was really cool, but we were a very small class, so we had to act out in multiple things.
Multiple roles, yeah.
Yeah, so I thoroughly enjoyed being able to write it and figure out, okay, where is this going to go? Where is this going to do? How is this going to work? Did not enjoy the acting, because the minute I got on stage and looked out and saw all those people, I went, oh shit.
Yeah.
This is not for me. So we had to do 5 shows. And this is ingrained in my memory, and this is the memory that I will have until the day that I die, and this keeps me up at night. I'm not kidding. It's been like 12 years, and I still wake up in the middle of the night going, oh my God. We did 5 shows. And on the last show was when like friends and family were allowed to come in. So my dad's there in the front row with a camera, because of course he is. And like my mom and a family friend that you'll often hear me refer to as my stepdad. Like all of my friends are there. And I was playing the part of Abigail from The Crucible.
Wow.
I had done this show. This was the 5th time. And I went to say a line, and my brain just flatlined. The line was gone.
The corpse.
Yeah, and I stood there and frozen, and I was shaking, I was trembling, I was a sweating, awful mess. It was horrible. And then like all I could think is, think of the line, think of the line, okay. And it was like, okay, line gone. Think of something. Well, I had this piece of cloth over my head because like we're a high school, so we don't have really good props. So that was the bonnet. And so my brain went, oh, I know, I'll improv. That's not a good idea when you are scared shitless. Do not do that. Do not do that. So my brain was like, I'll improv. Aha, I'm genius. And it had already started to come untied, so I just reached up, grabbed it, and threw it to the ground in anger and stomped on it. And then my brain went, okay, we did that, now what? And so I'm just standing there, trembling mess, standing on a piece of cloth, going, well. And then finally, it was like my system rebooted, and I went, aha, the line! And I said it. And then the last part was I had to run off the stage, which was off the stage, down some stairs, and then up some stairs to the back, so I could get backstage. And I was like, I'm going to fall down these stairs. I'm going to fall down these stairs. I'm going to fall down these stairs.
Jesus.
And because I'm scared of stairs, because every time I have to take stairs, I literally think of at least 15 different ways that I'm going to die. That's not a joke. That's not an exaggeration. I've plotted my death so many times, and I'm like, yep, I'm going to fall, and I'm going to break my neck. It's going to be bad. On the last night of the last show, I tripped on the top stair after flubbing the lines, and I went, just kill me now. Just kill me now.
Oh, no.
But I didn't completely fall, but I trembled, and like I was wearing this weird skirt thing. So I was like tripping over this skirt and basically like penguin walking and stumbling my way. I looked drunk. And hurried backstage, and I got back there and just went, I'm never doing that again. And they're like, well, this is the last show. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I will never step foot on a stage ever again.
Well, the audience didn't know any better. That's all that matters. The audience didn't know any better. They thought that was all part of the show.
Well, but see, here's the thing. So there is a, because this is back in the day when the dinosaurs really did roam the earth. It's on camera. There's a videotape, a VHS floating around where that exists.
That's all right. It's not for everyone, I suppose. But like, you know, you found your calling. You're a writer now, so there you go.
Yep.
And a podcaster.
Yes. Yes.
And there's no tripping downstairs when you're doing a podcast, unless, of course, you're standing at the top of a bunch of stairs doing a podcast.
Which, of course, is like, why would... Yes, it's like, why would you be there, Jackie? Why are you in the middle of these stairs just doing your podcast?
Exactly.
Keeps me on my toes. Will I die? Will I not? Tune in next week and find out. So with that being said, now that I rambled, someone else share their embarrassing story.
again, going back to theatre, I was a member of a local youth theatre for a few years back when I was a teenager. But I was usually mostly chorus, but I didn't mind. But I did have, I'm still proud of it. Not exactly a huge role, but I had a small role in Bugsy Malone.
Oh, cool.
I was 16, and it's not really embarrassing. The costume was embarrassing, that be said. It looked like I had a dead fox on my head. I've got photographs. I'll be sure to post them. Yay. I look like Stan Laurel. Like a really
Oh, that
short,
sounds
dumpy
like
Stan Laurel.
that sounds like episode 5 listening goal material if I've ever heard it.
I
It's
think
just
that's bad. I've actually got that performance on DVD. I remember standing in the wings, shitting myself, knowing my friends were in the audience, knowing that they were going to laugh as soon as I popped out singing Bad Guy. That's why I was in that gang, because I couldn't sing and I couldn't really dance with 2 left feet. I've inherited that from my dad, bless his soul. But no, it was fun, and I really enjoyed it because you had this. It's like a little community, from as much as a group of teenagers can be. I remember, I think it was one of the production team, one of the adults, kindly telling us to be quiet in the wings because we were too loud and the audience would hear us. But no, that was just really fun. I remember a girl that I was friends with. She was in the rival bad guys gang. The final scene where they're all splurge gunning each other and it's massive, meant to be a cream pie fight in the film. If you all seen the film.
That's right, yeah.
But she got me in the eye with the splurge gun. It wasn't a very good splurge gun. It was kind of like shaving cream, but obviously under the stage lights, it was starting to melt, and my eye went really bloodshot. And I remember being in the dressing room thinking, Amy, what have you done? Done right in the pus. Why? Did I get like, yeah, you did. I was meant to dance for it after that with one eye. I'm thinking, I can't see.
Maybe was your dancing better?
No, not really. Made it worse.
It didn't help.
All right. Who else?
Catherine, any theatre stories from you?
I actually I didn't do drama. I was in the orchestra for like 15 years, so I didn't do any like acting or anything like that. I did ballet and like orchestra, and I rode horses, and I was just like, that's about it.
Nice.
So the only embarrassing thing that I had was like my second oldest sister. She was nominated when she was in high school, so she's like 2 or 3 years younger, not younger, older than me, and she was nominated as homecoming queen. Here in homecoming in like the United States, homecoming queen is basically like during the month of I guess October or so, they have like a big giant football game, and they have homecoming queen and king and students nominated. So she got nominated as the homecoming queen, and she was like, hey, why don't you come with me to my high school, and we'll go and we'll eat something before, and you get to come and hang out with me and my friends. And I was just like, oh, awesome, because I was like in ninth grade. I was like a wee baby. And so we went, and I started not to feel all that great after like we had gone and eaten some food at the restaurant. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to chew some gum, which was the worst idea ever in all of man, the worst idea that I ever did. So I ended up getting sick, and I just isolated myself to a corner, and I crouched down, and like I was trying to make myself as small as possible because I had just everything came up, and I was like, oh no, she's never gonna invite me anywhere ever. My high school career is over. And her friends were like, oh, her friends are so wonderful. They're like, we were looking out for her to make sure she didn't get lost in the crowd, because I was like, short. I was like 5 feet. And they're like, she wanted to get lost in the crowd. We were making sure that she's having a good time. And then we lost sight of her. And then we saw somebody crouched in the corner. And we thought, oh, somebody pre-gamed a little too hard before coming here. And we dismissed it. And then we realized, I know that dress. Catherine? I was just like, I'm so sorry. And they're like, no, it's fine. We'll get your sister. And so when they were saying the nominations for my sister, they were like, and the music had stopped, and as soon as they said that, oh, she's been nominated for homecoming queen, her friends had just finished yelling, Catherine threw up, in like complete silent theater, kind of like courtyard place, and everyone just turned around, and I was just like, this is the worst thing ever. Oh my God, I'm going to disappear now. Do you think
you stole the show?
All right.
Stole the show. What? Embarrassing? No, I never had any embarrassing.
No, nothing.
No, nothing. Actually, there's one story. All right, I was doing a play in Kilkenny. It was Grease, the musical, and I don't know if you've probably seen the movie, but I played Eugene, the nerd. I was a spotty-faced teenager, and I was playing Eugene, the nerd. And we were on tour up in Kilkenny at the Watergate Theatre. And I actually was suffering with a terrible cyst on my face at the time, which was pretty disgusting looking. And it had formed to a little kind of a head. And it was perfect.
No.
For the role I was playing, it was kind of perfect. But in the dance hall scene, there was a scene where I can't remember, the leader of the Pink Ladies, Rizzo, I think her name was, or something like that. She's kind of flirting with me, getting all kind of seductive. And she decides to run her hand along the back of my neck and along my face. And unbeknownst to her, this wasn't makeup, and her false nail got caught in the head of this cyst that's protruding out of the side of my face, and took the head off. And I think the whole thing just emptied all the way down my jaw. It's kind of disgusting.
Oh no!
Yeah, and the last thing I remember getting through the scene and everything. And I completed the dance. It was like, we go together, like sang-a-lang-a-lang, whatever. And then carried on, got to the end of the scene, and I got off stage. I was in a bit of pain, but the look at her face when she realized what was after happening and what was sitting on the end of her false nail was kind of priceless. So that might have been a bit embarrassing for her. It was pretty terrifying for me at the time, but it was probably pretty embarrassing for her. But she was a good actor, and she struggled on and got through it too, So yeah, there you go.
And for a fact the whole time she was going,
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no.
That's probably my most embarrassing moment on stage, probably. And I've lost lines in the past, but yeah, that happens.
Oh my God. Well, so basically what we're all concluding is the stage is a very traumatizing place.
That's why the rehearsal room is so precious and important.
Oh yes, absolutely. 100%. All right. So I know you have other affairs to get on with, so we'll try to power through. Okay, so besides Red Dead, what is probably the most cherished role that you've ever done?
Well, I know that this question was coming, and I was going to say, how do you know that Red Dead is my most cherished role?
Oh, well, yeah.
I'm only joking. I love Sean Maguire, and I adore him. And I adore the work we all did on Red Dead. But again, that's a really tough one for me because I do tend to fall in love with every part that I play, no matter who it is. And a lot of the time, the experience of that role is something that you're kind of in the moment with, and you're living with, and you're kind of, as I said, you learn so much about yourself. I suppose a few favorite ones for me, a few plays that stand out for me that I love for different reasons. It was a brilliant play written by an amazing writer and performer from Ireland called Leisha Sexton, called The Last Days of Cleopatra, which we put on together here in New York a few years ago. And I got to play a gay hip hop dancer, which I actually went and took hip hop classes for about 2 months. And it was an interesting challenge for me because I have a lot of very close friends in the LGBT community. And just, when you take on a role, like as I said, you learn so much more about yourself, and that's something that I kind of love, just kind of being in and just kind of experiencing that. I did a wonderful play by Conor McPherson at the Irish Rep, which is my home here in New York. It's my company I work with quite a lot. Called The Seafarer 2 years ago, which was a play that I got right after I kind of resurrected my career. It was I hadn't really been on stage in about 3 or 4 years, and I'd kind of given up on the theatre. And in 2018, my fiancée Jessica, she really kind of encouraged me to pursue what I want to pursue. So I gave up the bar business to throw myself in. And this was the second play I think I'd done. And it was a nice feather in the cap, because it was alongside Matthew Broderick for like 4 months off Broadway. So myself and Ferris Bueller got to share a dressing room for 4 months and hang out. And just working with him was just such a brilliant, wonderful experience also. And again, I discovered a lot about myself there. There are 2 plays that recently I've just, in the last couple of years, I've really enjoyed. The Smuggler, which was supposed to go ahead a few months ago, is a play I love dearly. And I just really can't wait to finally get that up on a stage. Obviously, the theatres are closed here in New York right now. And I know, and I love the fact that people are putting their art online and putting so much out there on the internet and YouTube and all this. But this is a play that hasn't only a few people have seen it, because I've done it at a few small theatres in New York. And I really don't want to do the online version yet, because I think it just deserves to live and breathe in front of more of a live audience first. So that's kind of something that I'm excited about, just getting my teeth back into as soon as we can.
Well, and I think one of the cool things about everything becoming digital now is, I know there's a lot of people that want to go see plays, but maybe they don't have the money for it, or they don't have things, or maybe like during like quarantine and all that, maybe they just now discovered, hey, these like plays and such are actually really cool. And so now it kind of opens up a new world for people who may not get to travel to New York or can't go to Los Angeles.
Absolutely.
With or without quarantine.
I think that's been a positive. It has been a positive, but I also do hope that moving forward, we actually do start to invest more in the arts in this country. Like you just said there, you don't play football in Louisiana, then, they don't see you. It's of course that's not true, but I get that. Like, so we invest so much in sports in this country, and the arts, unless it's film, a lot of time the arts does get left behind a lot.
It does.
And the one question I get asked a lot by people is, how do I become a voice actor in video games? And I'm like, well, go to your local theatre. Like, almost every single town in this country has somebody who's involved in theatre. There are theatres out there. There are small local community theatres that you can go and you can get involved. And you might end up on stage getting your face picked off, and you might decide this isn't for me. But for me, that was the beginning of my journey, and it's where it all begins. I mean, everybody involves everything that we've done the last 5 months, sitting at home watching Netflix, playing video games, listening to music, listening to podcasts. They're all created by artists, and I think one thing we've heard a lot about essential workers throughout all this, and of course our nurses and our doctors and the people who work in our grocery stores and our hotels and everything.
Thank you.
Our teachers, everybody, everyone's essential, but we have to also realize that artists also have been providing a lot of emotional and mental triage, and they will continue to do it. And very often the artists are the ones who are least paid.
That is true.
And I'm not here kind of advocating for more money for us, but like, just so people understand, like, every character that's on your screen there in Red Dead Redemption, like, they went to drama school, they've got bills to pay, they work at this, and it's a hustle. And you guys are finding this out now with your venture with the podcast. You're creating something, and it is a hustle. So go to your local theater if you can, and definitely check out what's happening online with theaters all over the place. And it's inspiring. It's inspiring to see other people work as well. That's how I get inspired. You know?
And I think that's one of the beautiful things about like a lot of these people doing like the digital signings and even Cameo and things like that is it's a very small way to give back and also to show appreciation and to bring joy to people as well, because the amount of people that have been like, oh, I would really love a shout out from somebody in a live stream, and of course like you've done a live stream where there's like hundreds of people, they just, it's impossible, they can't see you. But
Of course,
to have something where they go, hey, your name, and they're speaking directly to you, like in that moment it's like they noticed me. And and you can, it's a very small way that you can help out, and especially in these trying times, because I know a lot of like Benjamin Byron Davis has posted that in a lot of ways theater, like the entertainment industry is suffering because obviously shows can't go on because everything's closed. Shows can't,
and
like
and by the way, that's not just artists. I mean, the amount of people who work in the theater industry, in the arts, in the film industry, who aren't on stage, who aren't on the bright side of the camera. Like, you're talking about writers, you're talking about directors, you're talking about stagehands, set designers. It's here in New York, like Broadway, off-Broadway shut down. The amount of bars and restaurants that have shut because of that aren't going to reopen. Broadway brings in 16 to 17 billion a year to the economy of New York City. 16 billion. I mean, that's more than what the Yankees and the Mets bring in.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen something in regards to the West End down in London, and there's going to be a lot of layoffs. Like, London's losing a lot of money because obviously they bring in a lot of revenue, both obviously off West End. And for me, I would think more for like the smaller theatres, like more local theatres, they'll be the ones that will be hardest hit, because I've got quite a few around about my local area. In the next town over is actually the birthplace of Andrew Carnegie.
Oh, wow.
And we've got our own Carnegie Hall, and that's where I was born in Bugs and Malone.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
He obviously gave a lot to like his birthplace and that, but places like that they will be struggling, and obviously a lot of the local amateur groups that are in the surrounding area as well, they'll be suffering just as much because they don't get any funding. It's like membership fees.
Absolutely. They rely on audiences. They rely on ticket sales, It's just two ways of looking at it. I mean, on Broadway, it's tourism. Tourism funds Broadway, and it drives Broadway in a big way. So that's why Broadway is going to take a big hit. With a lot of the smaller off-Broadway theaters, to your point, Nicola, it's going to be really difficult to survive if they have to operate at 30% capacity. But at least here in New York, I have to say, like, the off-Broadway theaters are mainly supported by, there is a little bit of funding, but not a lot. But they're mostly supported by locals. Like, a lot of the New Yorkers actually go to off-Broadway a lot more than they would to the big shows, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So we're lucky in that regard. But I mean, even there's ways for people can help by reaching out to their local arts organizations and volunteering and getting involved,
And like, obviously we realize that funding is really hard for a lot of people. A lot of people, right now we're seeing a job crisis, not to get political, but right now we're seeing an unemployment crisis. A lot of people just were either laid off or their job has been marked as not essential. And so money is difficult. So, and a lot of people are like, I wish I could help, but I can't, I don't have money. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Because the most powerful tool that you have is not your bank account. I mean, that helps, it really does, but it's word of mouth. And right now, we have social media. So it's like, if you can't buy a ticket, if you can't buy a cameo, if you can't buy a live signing, the most important thing that you can do is share it and get the word out there, because there may be someone down the line that goes, hey, you know what, I've got a whole bunch of money that is just sitting here, and I want to gift people a bunch of autographs, or I want to gift people a bunch of cameos. And we've also, a lot of cameos go to like charities and whatnot. So it's like, get the word out there, even if you yourself cannot afford it.
A click, a like, and a share goes a long, long way. It really does.
It honestly does. I mean, case in point, with the podcast, we talked about this We honestly thought that it was going to be like one or two close friends just telling, just being there to support because, oh, well, they're our friends. They have to be. And I looked at the stats today, and our first episode is almost at 50 listens. That is insane.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
And all it is we shared it a lot, and people were like, okay, well, fine, I'll check it out.
Well, I'm gonna put a little challenge out there. If we can get this episode to 80 listens, if this episode goes out to 80 listens, I will send you guys, I'll post a photograph of myself with my fez on. How about that?
Ooh.
All right. I've got a fez at home. I was trying to keep it as a surprise, but I'll post a photo of me with a fez on singing Ring Dang Do.
Yes.
If we get to 80 listens, I will send you guys a cameo of me doing Ring Dang Do with a fez on. How about that?
That would be amazing. All right, guys. The challenge.
To pop up on your social media. So there you go.
There you go. The challenge has been issued, guys.
That's 2 challenges this week.
There you go.
It's a 2-tier challenge.
Aha. So not only if we get to 50, so for those of you who may not follow us on Twitter, because I know like Twitter, not everyone has it. We also do have a Facebook now. So if anyone is interested in that, you can go find us on Facebook at Around the Campfire, or I think it's at the Cameo Gang 1899. Don't know where we pulled that number from.
That's the year of Red Dead Redemption 2.
That was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. That might be it.
I was trying to put in all kinds of other stuff, and they would not let us have it. So I was just like, numbers.
No, it works. 1899 works.
So yeah, for those of you that aren't following us on social media, absolutely go and give us a follow. We do keep updates. We post questions. So if you want to be involved in that, you can interact with us there. We were going to read the answers to our most recent question, but we looked at all the questions that we had for Mick, and we went, oh, time. Because we literally sat here for an hour discussing what we were going to talk about.
I mean, we'll still read them out. It's just we're gonna get through our questions with Mick and let him go and live his life and not hold him hostage.
So.
Well, the cat's out of the bag. That's how we got Mick on. We found that embarrassing photo in a photo album many years ago, and well, it was either
don't know what you're talking about.
Be on our podcast or we release it.
Yeah, I think it's an old photograph buried under somebody's mattress by now, I'd say.
Hey, you don't know what I have under my mattress. Thank you very much.
That's fair.
But all right, so we've got a couple more questions. We got a couple more questions that may take a little bit of time, and then we'll do like a quick lightning round for you.
Good.
and then I promise we will release you.
You're fine. I love this.
Well, we did have a whole bunch of other questions. So I think, and maybe this is just me, I think we're all getting along pretty well. So maybe you should come back.
I'll absolutely come back. No problem. As soon as I get this apartment renovated downstairs.
And
come back, and I'll even put on my face the next time, my nice face. And
not the one with the cyst and all that?
Not the one with the cyst. No. I lost that a long time ago.
But
I promise, I'd love to come back. I'd love to come back for any more questions.
But hey, we never know what the future holds, and if everyone seems to enjoy this, then hey, who knows what we might have in store in the future. But that being said, so is there anything coming up that you're really excited that you want to talk about?
Personally, well, in my personal life, I'm moving to a new apartment. That's going to be pretty great once we get moved in and settled down. Professionally, I'm actually going to be I've spent the last 2 years telling people I'm not a voice actor. And lo and behold, and after getting the part of a voice at the end of a telephone line in a new movie coming up. Yes, there it is, Work by Aoife Williamson. It's a great, brilliant little short film that I've read the script a number of times. We did a cast reading of it about a month and a half ago over Zoom. And Aoife is a very good friend of mine, an absolutely brilliant, an amazing writer. And she has this script which just basically it destigmatizes the sex industry. You know, she's aiming. You know, there's a lot of stigma surrounding that particular type of work, I suppose you call it. But and I personally think like a lot of the stigma surrounding it does nothing to serve the people who are involved in it. You know, the people who struggle in it. I'm not talking about, you know, I'm not talking about pimps here and stuff. I think there is a lot of women out there who, you know, it's life is tough sometimes, and people end up, you know, just working and doing certain things that you know, society kind of paints an ill picture of, you know. And she's written a really respectful and funny and funny and serious at the same time kind of little movie about this, about juggling, you know, your life and your side gig. And I get to play her brother back in Cork in Ireland. We're both actually from the same part of Cork, and we've both worked over here together quite a bit recently.
That's awesome.
So I'm really looking forward to that. And again, just throwing it out there as well as, I mean, I think, you know, there's something about this movie that we spoke about, and I brought up something with her when we were discussing it about how the world is really set. There is a default setting in this world, in society, and the default is for people who look like me, men, especially men in their 30s and 40s, who happen to be white, you know. And the world is kind of geared towards people like me. And it seems to me that every other group, whether it's women, whether it's the LGBT community, whether it's people of color, whether it's, you know, whoever, it's almost like they have to fit into our world. And that's something that I think we have a responsibility in this day and age to try to move away from. And when I see young artists like Aoife kind of writing movies like this, like right away, it's the kind of thing I want to be involved in. I think it's very important. You know, that's just the way I see. That's the kind of work I want to do as well, more often. And it's going to be great. And I can't wait to let you guys know about it when it's finally completed and released.
And
I'm
then
looking forward to it. Yeah.
throwing back to what we were talking about earlier about supporting artists and creators and whatnot, this is actually a Kickstarter. I just pulled the page up right now. As of right now, when we're recording, we are sitting at 3,276 of the $15,000 goal. So if you guys want to help get this funded, you can go check out Mick's social media. You can check out us on Twitter. We'll also be posting about it on our Facebook page. So you can find it and you can share it. If you can, donate something. It's really simple. You can donate. I think one of them is a $25 tier, which will get you a private link, if I remember correctly. I can't find it at the moment, but yeah, so $25 will get you a private link that you can go and view the movie and everything once everything is completed, obviously. And it's such a good project. Like I went there and I read just like how the vision of everything was done and the storyline, and it was like, I have to see this. I need to see this now. Make this happen.
Yeah.
I did. I read the script. My heart just jumped into my mouth. I mean, it's just gorgeous, and it's going to be beautiful. I can't wait to be involved, and I can't wait to see the finished product.
It's gonna be amazing, and
again, like you guys, Aoife, she's an amazing artist, and she's just putting her voice out into the universe and just going for it. Which that's all we can really do, you know.
I agree. And there is a sense of vulnerability when that happens. It's like, okay, here's this thing that I love, that I cherish, and I'm gonna release it to the world. It's my baby, and so from one baby to another, let's show some love. Let's get this shared. Let's get this funded, because truth be told, and this is completely selfish, I need to see this.
Yeah, thank you. Look, if there's no other reason in that, then I think that deserves $15,000.
Exactly.
Yeah, well,
yeah, absolutely.
So we'll definitely try to. We'll make a post about it.
Thank you, guys.
And we'll if we can share it, we'll share like the links and stuff like that to the Kickstarter. So
thank you.
It's no problem. It's definitely something that needs to happen because the world that we live in, it demonizes or stigmatizes groups of people and careers and things like that.
Hmm.
And it's sort of to a point where they like what the product you can give them, whether that is your voice or body or just something that they can make marketable, but they don't
Hmm.
like you as a person. They,
For
they
doing
don't
it.
believe, yeah, they don't like
Yeah,
you as a person. So it's definitely something that needs to be addressed and needs to be shown to people that
absolutely.
Agree.
these are, you know,
And the funny thing is, everyone kind of, turns their nose at sex work. But the simple fact is, America would not be America without sex work, because people were still migrating and like going, they'd go here and go there and go here. But it was actually prostitutes that helped settle the West. So if you're a
Yeah,
fan of Red Dead Redemption, we got to show more love to our women, especially
absolutely.
our women that are involved in like sex work and whatnot. Which, okay, that's one small facet of it. I get that, but that that alone helped shape America. So by turning our nose to it, we are literally shunning a part of our past, and we would
Yeah.
not be where we are without it.
And the small fact of the matter is that, look, it exists. You can bury your head in the sand and say that you would like a world where it didn't exist, but you know what, it exists. And I think the more protection we can offer people who are vulnerable, you know, the better. And also, like, again, like, if we can give people the opportunities to have careers in other areas or make enough money to survive where they don't have to go and do things that they may not want to do, you know, that's 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 the other point,
Mm-hmm.
and of course we're not advocating here for abuse, because we do
yeah.
understand that does happen, and that is something that's abhorrent and we stand against.
Mm-hmm.
But to recognize that this is something that does happen and has happened for a long time, then let's recognize it and let's move forward.
Exactly.
It's an industry as
Yeah,
old as the hills, and a lot needs to be done to, address the inequalities within that
yeah,
industry. Make sure that obviously those that are most vulnerable are, like you said, protected, and to just raise the awareness and make sure that their voices are heard, because they're often neglected and just
hmm,
cast off as, unwanted people in society. And
yeah,
that's really disrespectful. I mean, yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Basically, long story short, we need to start focusing our attention on hurting the people that are actually doing bad, and just like stop hating on people that just want to live.
That's
Mm.
it. Forward,
Basically,
forward motion.
exactly. As Benjamin Byron Davis often says, travel hopefully.
Exactly. I
But
love Ben so much. I have a quick little story about Ben. I was working on Red Dead for about a year, and I still wasn't quite sure who Sean was, how he fit in, and everything else. And because they wouldn't really explain bits and pieces, you didn't get the story when you were working on it. You got it in flashes here and there, because they were very protective of their work in the script. But
Yeah.
one day where Ben and I think Roger was there. I think Roger, Ben, I want to say Peter, and maybe even Rob. I think Rob was up visiting from Indiana. Um, they were all up at Ryan's Daughter, which is a pub I used to own, and I was there, and we were having a pint. And I just asked Ben, I said, like, can you just tell me, is Sean part of the gang? Like, is he part of the gang? And now, knowing the game and knowing what the characters are, it makes total sense that I would feel this way, but I didn't. Because Sean is like the little brother of the group and everything else. And
Hmm.
Ben, in his way, just kind of looked at me like, with the way he does it, Mick, man, yeah, Ben. Sean's part of the gang. Sean is part of the gang. You're part of the gang. And from that moment on, I was like, yes, I'm part of the gang. Great. I still didn't know what that meant or entailed, but I actually think I grew about 5 inches taller or 6 inches taller next time I went on set, and gave me a little bit more of a self-assuredness, because Dutch told me I was part of his gang. So there, cute little
I've
story.
I've been accepted by Dutch. My life is complete. And I bet you lost
Basically,
your head after that.
yeah, I did. Yeah, I lost my head soon after. Yeah.
All right.
Actually, little bit of inside info. I think I already knew at that stage what was becoming of of Sean, but in the interest of not giving the game away to anyone who hasn't played it yet,
Yeah.
leave it at that.
Yeah. So I know you're pressed for time, so I'm going to tell this story really
Thank
quickly.
you.
So
Very good.
So the first time that I actually got introduced to Red Dead through watching a YouTuber. His name is Markiplier, and he just the love and the passion. So I actually saw a good majority of the game before I actually played it, and I loved it so much. I was like, I need to experience this for myself. And so it got to that part, the part.
Yeah, the part.
I knew it was going to happen, but watching it and experiencing it were two different things. And you know what? Screw it. I literally just lost my mind when it happened. And I paused the game. I was like, I knew it was going to happen, but it happened, and I'm sad about it.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I've
Could have been
often,
another 2 years. There could have been another 3 years of work there for me if that hadn't happened.
yeah, I often joke that no one is as upset about Sean as Mick is. Like, it'll be 20 years down the line, and he'll be like, "You remember that one game?"
You remember that one guy with the red hair that ended up all over the dusty road and roads? Yeah, remember him? Yeah. No, you don't? Okay.
Mick, that was like 20 years ago. I'm still salty about it.
Still there. Still pissed off about it.
All right, so let's get through our lightning round, and then we'll release you from your hostage situation.
You're the best, guys.
All right, so one of the things that I asked you was what questions have you never been asked before? So the first one was, what is your favorite video game?
Right. Favorite video game from being a kid was Platoon, which was made by the movie Platoon. I remember playing it on my Commodore 64 on Christmas 1986, 1987. I loved that game. More recently, I've been playing a lot of retro games on an emulator on my computer, and I've been just addicted to NHL 97.
Awesome.
So, yeah, I'm a big fan of the old-fashioned Sensible Soccer, NHL 97, Mario Kart, all the old games, Star Fox, yeah, all that.
Oh, I love Star Fox.
Love Star Fox, the original one.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so what is your favorite dinosaur?
T-Rex.
Easy.
They're so cute. They're so cute with those little hands. They're just so cute, you know?
When I'm laughing because I actually asked him that question prior because, someone said on Facebook, no one ever asks you what your favorite dinosaur is anymore. And I'm like, you know what? That's going to be my new question. I'm going to ask everyone what your favorite.
There you go.
And I actually followed it up with a meme of, if you're ever sad, just try to picture a T-Rex making a bed.
That's right.
It works.
I have a T-shirt that says "Feel bad for T-Rex does push-ups." Yeah. T-shirt with that on it.
All right. So, coffee or tea?
Tea, of course. Tea with a drop of milk. Barry's tea from Cork.
Okay. Do you like eggs?
You leave my questions alone.
Well, it depends. Are you asking Mick or are you asking Mr. Mick?
I am disappearing forever.
Good
Leaving.
question, Catherine. Yes, I do like eggs, yes.
And how do you like your eggs?
You shut up, Jackie.
Just a second to think about
You
that.
guys again?
I'm very proud of my omelets. I do think I make a very neat omelet. A bit of spinach and feta and tomatoes.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah,
Hey, when you get your apartment set up, can we come over and you can cook us omelets?
absolutely. I cook omelets for Jessica every day, so absolutely, no problem.
Awesome.
They could be in quarantine, so.
Just toss it out the window. We'll try to catch it.
Yeah, just wear
I don't
wear
think
some
Mr. President would let me in.
Okay, sorry. A notification from my computer just popped up. How rude. Anyway. All right, last question. If you could be in any book, movie, or game, what genre would you be and why? Or what game, book, movie would you be?
I've actually thought about this an awful lot, and I have to say I would love to be in some of those old 80s movies, those old cheesy 80s movies. There was something about the 80s for me that was a very kind of hopeful and innocent time.
Mhm.
I think a lot of what we're dealing with now has kind of come from then. Like, there was a great kind of sense. I think it was the 80s was the first time that, like, people kind of took teenagers really kind of seriously.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
all those old movies, like, the Pretty in Pink movies. I've been a big fan lately of Cobra Kai on Netflix,
Mhm.
which is like the Karate Kid 20 or 30 years later.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think, yeah, I'd love to have been in a movie, one of those kind of movies from the 80s, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. There was also something about them where anything was possible, you know?
Mm.
Mhm.
They didn't always necessarily deal in realism. And they also did things in those movies that you never saw before. Like, they would just flippantly, like, look right at the camera and speak to you in the first person, things like that. It was just something that was so kind of cool and hip and innocent about it all. And I just love 80s movies. I mean, my favorite thing in the world is to, like, just sit in and watch Top Gun or something like that, So, yeah, I suppose if I could be in anything, it'd be something from the 80s, that kind of stuff.
That makes sense. That's really awesome.
Yeah, kind of cheesy like that.
Well, we will release you from your hostage situation, but
Well, yes,
we will want you to come back, just so you know.
I would love to come back. And I just want to say again, like, kudos to you guys. I'm so thrilled that, you're sharing your voices with the world. And I hope people listen to this podcast and decide to kind of, do their own blogs or vlogs, and if you have a passion for something, like, just stick it out there. It's a great thing to do, it's a great thing to do, and it helps to kind of grow your circle. And the bigger your circle and the bigger your gang, like, the better it is for everyone. So
That's true.
just thank you for doing all this. I really appreciate it, and thanks so much.
I get the feeling we're gonna need a bigger campfire.
We're gonna need more sticks.
But yeah, so thank
We're
you.
gonna need a bigger wagon.
Thank you, honestly, from, like, in all seriousness, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for the support that you personally have given us, and for, helping us get our voices out there. Like, we were literally just talking. It was an idea, and then when you were like, "Oh yeah, I'll do it," oh, wow. Didn't think that was gonna work.
No, well, it's my pleasure, and like I said, right now we need all the artists kind of just putting their stuff out into the universe.
That's true. So,
That's
with
what we
that
need.
being said, with that being said, thank you all so much for listening. If you like what you hear, then please share it. We have 2 listen goals. 50, we release the audio file of Catherine singing, and trust me, you do not want to miss it.
Oh.
At 80, we get Mick and a Fez. So we need to make that happen.
And he sings Ring Dang Doo,
Yep, and we have to have
which
that.
is such a dirty song.
That took me. I
can.
annoyed my girlfriend so much learning that song, so that's my party piece.
But yeah, and then obviously you can go follow Mick on Twitter at Mick Malamphy. You can follow us at Twitter at Cameo Gang 1899, and you can also follow us on Facebook. Keep everything updated. And once again, Mick, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Pleasure's
you.
mine. Go to Mila Mahagut August Slán Lat Makara.
Yeah, what you said.
Oh.
That's for all the Irish listeners.
I would reply in Scots Gaelic, but they don't teach us it, so
I know, they got to bring that back.
yeah.
Yeah, they did a great job in Ireland in the last 50 years of really just encouraging it in schools. So
I know Kim and Hajif, but that's about it.
that's about it. Yeah, there you are.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Kurivini, which is the language of Louisiana, I don't really know much, but I can say "mo excité," which is I'm excited.
Very cool. Creole, is it?
Hmm.
Is it like Creole?
Kind of. That is a whole other
Right.
conversation, and we will have that next
Yeah.
time. So if you're interested in learning about the history of languages,
Thank you once again for Mick for joining us. He had to run, do some things. We didn't want to keep him hostage for too long. But this episode it's running a little long, which is fine because we had surprise. a special
Surprise!
guest. We kept it under wraps for like 2 weeks. That's how long we knew. And he's such a good sport. So thank you so much for
And
him
you
participating.
know, for him being so nervous about having to talk to celebrities like us, I mean, he did a really good job.
He did. He did a good job. We should send him like a gift basket or something.
We should. That would be really fun. Like legit. Oh wait, we're still recording. Well, we would never do anything like that.
Are?
Yes, we are. We're not done with you yet, Nicola.
So, on Twitter and also on Facebook, we had copied the text and posted on Facebook as well. We had talked about in last week's episode about golden memories, basically things that you remember from childhood that sort of it's something that you think about maybe when the weather changes or on days when it might be rainy or just the sun hits the grass a certain way. So we asked, what is your fondest golden memory? It can be something you did as a kid or an event you always went to or a place. So what's yours? And on Twitter, we got an answer from Hannah at Elena Fisher SPS1. And she says, my mom's side of the family used to get together at my grandparents' house on Fridays. We would cook dinner together and all sit after with coffee and hang out all night. My grandpa loved telling riddles and doing card tricks and sketching. Sometimes he'd start a sketch and I'd finish it, or the other way around. And my grandma was one of my best friends, always ready to give advice or make me laugh. By the time I was 18, both my grandparents on that side had passed, but up until then, we rarely missed a Friday. Always felt very lucky to have those times to look back to. So, yeah, that's really sweet.
That is really
Um,
sweet.
yeah, like, and when my favorite thing was always visiting, like, my grandparents, when I was a kid, but they lived in Puerto Rico, so we didn't get to visit them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really great that she was able to get together all the time on Fridays and just be with family. Not a lot of people's grandparents are usually alive sometimes. Sometimes it's just their parents, or sometimes, they do live with their grandparents, and they might not have any other family. So that was a really sweet memory.
That
Thank
is.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And then we have Cornell at Cornell0 on Twitter that says, when the close ones were still alive, we used to gather all together. So I'll be completely honest with you, I'm not quite sure what they're talking about,
It might
but
be family, like their family would gather together as well. So that's something that that they liked being together with family or maybe like close friends
mhm,
that were like family to them.
that's true. So Cornell, I'm sorry if that's not what you meant. We just kind of had to guess. But so thank you so much for participating, and also we notice your art and we notice
Yeah.
your support and we notice everything, and you guys go show some love because they are a fantastic artist. Their art just blows my mind. So please go show some love and show some support.
And also, Hannah, she does a lot of photo edits
Mm.
on Twitter. Sometimes she'll post them there, and I also follow her elsewhere. And she does she plays Red Dead, I think, on the PC, so she's able to get the characters to go into different poses and things like that. And she's one of the Red Dead photographers, and so her pictures, they can be very humorous and funny, and some of them are very sweet and very nice looking. So definitely, if you want, you can check that out as well.
I guess I should have let Nicola read that response. Sorry, Nicola.
Oh no, that's okay. Huh? Right.
And Nicola's like, I'm just happy to be here, guys.
What?
Yay.
So over on Facebook, we asked the same question, and we just started the Facebook, so we don't have quite the following that we have on Twitter, which is fine. Honestly, like it's like this is still just mind-boggling that anyone is participating at all. I'll be 100% honest. So a lot of my personal friends jumped in to share their personal memories, and one of which is from a friend of mine. Her name is Megan. Which the spelling of her name is Megane, so I call her Megane or Magane. We used to work together at Motel 6 before Motel 6 decided it didn't want to exist anymore and went up in a tornado. But we actually got to be really, really close friends, which is how I know how to speak Magane. So I showed, like, everyone saw this response and they were like, I was like, I got this, guys. I got this.
I tried to read it. I read it out loud, and I was just like, I'm not sure if I'm doing this right.
So obviously it's kind of a joke, but also considering everything that's happened, it's also a little serious. So her golden memory is that time day before yesterday when my box fan was still alive. It made the whooshes while I made the honk shoes. In other words, the fan was blowing while she was sleeping. For those of you that don't know, Louisiana just got hit by a record-breaking hurricane that came all the way up north, and it went all the way up into Arkansas, and it was pretty devastating. In the parish, because Louisiana has parishes, not counties, the parish that I work, there were over 200 trees down, 90% of the city, and this is a pretty decent city by Louisiana standards. Big college town, all this stuff. So that was a lot, and there's a lot of elderly people that went without power during a heat wave. But Megan was actually down south in Alexandria when this happened, so she got hit significantly harder than the rest of us.
Mm.
They had to rehome animals. They had to, like, it's a really bad situation down there. So yeah, thoughts and if you are the praying sort, prayers for people down south. And anyone that has been following me and has seen the footage of what happened in Lake Charles and all that stuff, like, definitely show some love if you can. But yeah, so that's what she's referencing, is the fact of she hasn't had power, and it is a heat wave, and it has been awful down there.
Yeah.
Imagine.
And then another one is from a friend of mine named Rose. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to get back to us with all the memories, but she said she had so many, a lot of them including me. So I will take this opportunity to share a story. So, as I said during our interview with Mick, I was in drama class. That meant I had a lot of friends that had passions and desires to be actors and actresses. So I hung out with the theater geeks, basically. So we all decided one night, because one of my friends had a video camera. This isn't going in the direction you think it's going, I promise. Perverts. But one of my friends, sure you were.
Get your minds out together, guys.
Yeah. It's innocent high school fun. High schoolers never do anything weird. Anyway, but a friend of mine had a video camera, and we all got together in my bedroom. This is not helping my case.
Digging the hole deeper.
I put my foot in it next. And we decided, because at the time, I don't know if you guys remember this, but at the time, like, shows like MTV were doing a lot. That was when all these, like,
real MTV or whatever like that.
Yes. Yeah, so it was like Real World and Road Rules, and it was like these people were being followed around with a camera, and it was, quote, real life stuff. So we decided to do a parody of it called Confessions. It didn't, I really stuck my foot in it that time. But we would sit around and we would, like, act out these little scenes of, like, it was I was behind the camera. And it was two girls and a guy. His name was Ryan, who they were interacting together just like you would see on like Real World or Road Rules at the time, just sitting around talking. And then it would cut to one of them giving a confession. And in actuality, these two girls like really, really hated each other. And the guy was just like, he was completely oblivious to the whole thing. One of the girls had a crush on the guy, but during one of his confessions, he was like, I'm gay and I don't know how to tell them that. It was in depth. Like, I'm 14 and this is deep kind of stuff. But yeah. So it got time, like it got further into our little plot, and he was like, I have this confession and I'm just, you know what, I'm going to tell them. And they may hate me for it afterwards, but I'm going to tell them. And so like the two girls, Rose and another friend of ours, Amy, like they were like, obviously, because we're all sitting in the same room.
Mhm.
like there is no actual privacy going on here. But we were all sitting in the same room, and so we were prepared. We were like, okay, he's going to say he's gay. So that was what we were all gearing up for. So I think it was Amy. So like she started flirting like really hard with him, and she was like, so Ryan, and just like on and on. And then finally he was like, guys, look, I have a confession to make. And they're like, okay, well, what is it? And and he said, well, this one time many years ago, I was playing in a cornfield and decided to run backwards through the cornfield, and somehow in all of this he ended up losing his pants and running backwards in a cornfield. And he's like, and ever since then, whenever I go to the bathroom, I shit popcorn.
What?
And obviously not what we were expecting. So there was like this moment of legitimate silence. And then one of them, I think it was Rose, goes, wait a minute, didn't you make the popcorn tonight? And he was like, yeah. And then another moment of silence, and then Amy goes, that was the best fucking popcorn I've ever eaten in my life.
No.
Yeah. So, needless to say, that's also when I learned film director, not for me.
I think a golden memory for me, it wouldn't be exactly a golden memory from a poor dad, rest his soul. But yeah, this was years ago. I was on a family vacation in Florida. Yeah,
Mhm.
insert Florida joke. I don't get those Florida joke references, so yeah, so I think we were coming back from one of the water parks, and obviously standard, we had a huge rental car, well, huge by UK standards.
Mhm.
We're all, getting ready to go back into the villa. I had three friends with me at the time, because my mum and dad had the genius idea of inviting a whole host of like three other teenagers. But yeah, so we were ready to go indoors, and my mum and dad are closing up the car. We call the trunk, we call that the boot here in the UK. My dad, I don't know what he was doing, but he was leaning in to the trunk. My mum didn't see him, and she brought the trunk door right on top of his head.
Oh no.
Oh,
And you just heard the boom and the crunch. And in true Scottish fashion, my dad went, "Ya bastard!"
note to
Cradling his
future
head.
self. Note to
Cradling his
future
head.
self.
And
Sorry.
cradling his head. Fell into the bushes. We couldn't breathe. And the way that my dad looked at it, it was like a guillotine came down on his fucking head. It's one of the most awful and yet one of the most funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Note for future self. Please edit in the clip of Nicola being very broad right here.
Yeah, for anybody that doesn't get that reference, I lost my temper playing Fall Guys.
And it was amazing.
Yeah, I think I broke Catherine.
Yeah. All right. Catherine, what is your golden memory?
Um, so like I had said with earlier with Mick and everything, I when I was a kid, I did ballet and gymnastics and rode horses and took art classes and played the violin. So I did like a bunch of stuff during the summer. So my favorite time was when I didn't have to do any of that stuff, and my parents and my sisters would go with friends, friends of the family and their families, and we'd go to these cabins in like a national park. And these cabins are situated like right off a very large and very pretty. It was a very beautiful lake. It was like emerald green and it was cool despite like the heat of the day. So we would go here and just we'd spend about a week just there, swimming in the lake and having barbecues or fishing or riding in like rowboats, and we would do it every summer. It was something that I would look forward to. It was usually around June or July that we would do it. Um, we not necessarily tried to continue the tradition during the fall. My parents would try to get us out of like the city, and we'd go to a national park and go to like the forest and do hikings and stuff like that. Go to camps, go camp out or go into a cabin, watch the stars. But that time during the summer, because it's as a kid, usually summers are they're these like strange magical like time bubbles. Like
Mm.
you don't remember the heat. You just remember how much you had so much fun like
Mm.
outside. So those are the times that I remember. I don't remember getting beat up by mosquitoes or like
Sweating.
sweating crazy or anything like that, or getting like lake algae in like uncomfortable places in my bathing suit. I just remember just this week of time where it was just magical,
Mm-hmm.
especially to me when I was like, I think I was like 7, so the world was so open and so large.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mine.
Well, and I think it helps that, especially during summer vacation, like it's almost like you said, it was like a time bubble, and that's very accurate because you don't have to go to school, you don't have to do like this, that, and the other. So it's like time just sort of stands still, and like there's so much daylight, so you can play outside. Because I don't know if your parents were like mine, but it was always like it when the street lights come on, you come inside, and it was like you could play for hours and hours outside and just be.
Mm,
And it was kind of like time just sort of stood still for 3 months.
definitely.
Well, my golden memory is going to be uh, probably not what a lot of people are expecting. My golden memory is actually being at the racetrack. Um, so anyone that follows me on Twitter, my guilty pleasure is I legitimately love racing. I love being at the racetrack. I love the smell of ethanol burning in the air and all the various and assorted other smells that come along with a bunch of cars that go around really fast. Um, my I refer to him as my stepdad. He was actually a family friend. I met him when I was very, very young, and he was in my life for until February. So to me, he was like a second dad.
Mhm.
So he was an avid racer. on the day of his graduation, he had actually packed up, and they, like, in a bus, him and two other guys traveled to Delaware to race in one of the big NASCAR races. So like he'd been racing his entire life. And so I was basically raised on a dirt track. Every weekend we would pack up, we would go to the racetrack and just be. And you could scream and you'd get covered in so much dirt, and it was loud, and the crowd would get excited, and of course, you get the snacks and the food, the concession snacks, they're always the best. And we would just be, and we would cheer him on. His name's Dave. We would cheer Dave on while he raced, and it taught me a very valuable lesson, because there were very few moments where he would actually win, but it was the thrill, the joy of just being out there that he craved, that he wanted. It wasn't about winning. It was just about being there and experiencing it. And it took a long time for me to really grasp that lesson, because I always thought to enjoy something, I had to be good at it. And it was a very magical moment. So a lot of my golden memories take place on the dirt track, or being in the pits, helping hold it. I was a kid, so usually it was me holding a flashlight, or I'd hold a tool, or go retrieve it when someone got angry and threw it across the thing. And that was my job. I was the gopher, which is ironic. Because I'm actually the crow in the pictures, but Nicola's the gopher. And but yeah, like that's where a lot of my golden memories are, is just being in the racetrack. And so, like, here recently we did a memorial race for him. We had my dad actually got into racing because of Dave, and he had a car named P00, which, yes, it is poo. My dad was a wastewater operator at the time, so we just thought it was really funny. And we put, in memory of Big Dave, C24, which was his car number, on it, and we ran the race. And just that night of just being able to scream and yell and just have fun, it was a much needed closure and all that stuff. But yeah, being on the racetrack, being there, and experiencing all of that with Dave was definitely my golden memory.
That is, because you've told us about the way that you, like, how he was and everything like that, and how much he meant to you, and just you had lamented because of COVID and everything, and that just your schedule, that you weren't able to get out to the dirt track. And I think, like, was it a couple weeks ago, or about a week ago, you were able to do so. And it was just, you had sent us a video, and you're like full on, I think that was like the full on native Jackie.
Yeah, that's video footage that I can never release. I don't care what our listen goal is.
It was full on Jackie, just at a dirt track with, like, friends and family, and just, like, and you sounded so happy, and I was like, I'm excited for you. I've never been to dirt track. I think there's like a couple ones here where I live, but I've never been to one.
It's honestly fun. It helps when you know someone who is involved. It definitely makes it a lot more personal. Like, being in a dirt track is fun, but being in a dirt track and being like, hey, I know that guy. Hey, I know that guy. Oh yeah, that guy. I know that guy. And I know that guy. He's a dick. But yeah, it definitely it helps when you have like a personal element in it. It really does. So, but yeah, if anyone ever like wants to just go to a dirt track and just get really filthy, even though you're sitting in the stands, I highly recommend it, because it's surprisingly fun.
Well, thank you everyone for your answers and everything on Twitter and on Facebook. We absolutely love them. We'll try to think of a new question. Maybe we'll ask you how you like your eggs. And if you don't like eggs, what do you eat for breakfast? We're taking a poll. This is for a thesis. Don't worry about what I just said.
Or if you're vegan, what do you use as a supplement? So
That's actually a good question. I was gonna be like, I think we can come up with something better, but yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Oh man, that means we're gonna have to actually post, how do you like your eggs, on Twitter.
Don't worry.
Things that turned up on Twitter, I'm certain.
Maybe we'll just ask one of the other questions, like if you could be any animal, what animal would you be?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I mean,
mhm.
we are a menagerie. So
Mhm.
one day we'll have to tell the story about how we came to be the animals and why the animals are there. And once again, I feel like this needs to be said. Thank you so much to Joanna for drawing that. And like that has honestly become one of my favorite pieces of art. And I love signing on to all of our social media and seeing that.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, we'll definitely try to see if maybe she could add it in for this episode, just a special banner for our special guest.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he could be like a bear
He,
hybrid.
he could be he could be wouldn't that be basically be a platypus?
Yeah.
Just a giant platypus.
I mean, he could be wearing like, one of those like the bear hat from RDR. He could wear a bear hat and be holding a duck. I'll,
And
I'll, I'll try to get right on that.
I was fixing to say, when Joanna listens to this, like I can hear I can hear the fact that she just shit her pants. Like, oh no, I can't do that.
I'll try my best. I'll try to get it and maybe I'll post it later.
That would be awesome. But yeah, so once again, a huge thank you to Mick for agreeing to do this. We didn't actually hold him hostage for legal reasons. Um,
Jackie's lawyers have advised that we need to say for legal reasons. And he's no, he was wonderful. We had asked him. We weren't expecting him to agree to be a part of our episode. It's absolutely amazing. He is a really awesome guy. Please support his the Kickstarter for work. And I want to pronounce her name correctly. I think he said Ivy.
Aoife.
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 Yeah.
He said Aoife. I wanted to pronounce her name correctly and I failed. Please,
Hi.
we'll post the links when this episode goes up tomorrow. You'll probably already see like a links posted to it. We might be sharing it from her Twitter,
Mhm.
but we'll definitely share the links to the Kickstarter. So even if you can't support it, because we understand, we're not asking you, we're not putting you at gunpoint and asking you for your money. We're we're just, just share it, like it, anything like that, because it's a really important topic. It's one of many important topics that we would like, to get people active and support, especially now, especially with Black Lives Matter. That is something that's very important because
Mhm.
they'll matter and they'll always matter.
Mhm.
And LGBTQ plus like rights and things like that, and especially the stigmatizing of sex work because people of color and LGBTQ, they are also in sex work and things like that, and a lot of people scoff at it, but it's really hard work
Mhm.
and it's taxing and it can be dangerous, especially. Um, and so, any opportunity to highlight good causes and things like that, we'll try to use our voice to do so.
I
And
agree.
And if some of our followers don't like that, well, that's tough titties, mister.
And for those of you who may have grown up like I did in a very conservative household in a very conservative area, I understand that you, how do I word this? I understand that if you grew up in that area, that you are ingrained with certain biases. And I get that 100% because I have to struggle every single day to break out of those biases. And for someone who didn't grow up in an area like that, they don't necessarily understand that that's a struggle. Like, it should be pretty simple, like, don't hate people. But it becomes so ingrained, it's hard to break free of that, and I get that. And so for those of you that did grow up and in that situation and you are trying to break out of it, just know I am so proud of you. And it is a struggle, and I see your struggle, and I'm proud of you for continuing that fight.
Yes.
And so when you hear things like sex work, and when you hear things like Black Lives Matter or trans rights matter or just LGBTQ plus in general, I understand that the first reaction you're going to have is what you were taught. And I ask you, and I challenge you even to put those biases to the side and really push for it. Push for it. Let's go. We need to go forward. We are in an...
The system needs to change.
It does. The system needs to change. Our way of thinking needs to change. And that all starts internally as well as externally. So I urge you, and I am so proud of any progress you have made. I get it. It's hard, but we can do this. We are in an age of technology where information is at our fingertips, where we have a voice. We have the ability to reach so many people and to make a real difference. It's not like back in the 90s when you're just a small kid in a small town who didn't have a voice and there was no chance. Like, you can go out, you can start your own podcast, you can start your own YouTube channel. You can do any of those things, and you can get your voice out there.
Definitely. So please, if you can, just even if your first gut reaction is like, ugh, but that's not, then you need to just take a couple moments and look at what these people are saying, look at the causes that they're supporting, and mostly just think for yourself. Like, if you know in your heart that this is a right cause that you should back, then that is the right choice, not going, I want to stick my head in the ground and I want to ignore this. This doesn't go into my purview. It's just like you want to ignore it because of your upbringing. But we're so proud of everybody who has changed the way that they've thought or the way they're making strides to be a better person.
I mean, it's especially when you do live in those areas. It is very difficult to go against not only your own upbringing, but to go against the norm of your area. And there is backlash, and there is there's a lot of really bad things, but at the same time, this is for a good cause. Like, we're talking about actual people. We're not talking about an idea. We're talking about people who don't have they're not able to just walk down the street holding their loved one's hand, because if they walk in the wrong side of town, they could be hurt, sometimes very seriously. We're not talking about, just the idea of something. This is stuff that happens every single day, be it sex workers, be it a person of color, be it, whatever. So I challenge you, and don't guilt yourself for it, because the first thought you have is not yours. The first thought you have that is negative, that is what you were taught. That is not you. You can go beyond that, and you can change.
Yeah. So that's it. We don't want to get too preachy or too political, but you on this podcast, all three of us and anybody that we have on do support, Black lives. We do support trans rights, and LGBTQ rights, and just we also support changes and defunding of, like systems that are keeping people basically shackled and not doing the jobs that they're supposed to, like especially cops and things like that. So we do support things that people would consider radical or liberal, but really that's not it. Those are just, to me at least, they're basic moral understandings. Like, these are people. They're not objects. They're not things.
They're not numbers.
They're not numbers. They're people, and they require, assistance and support and help. So if you're not doing anything wrong, if your support is quiet, like you do donations or you do share things, and we understand, so not everybody they have to go out and go to protests. They have to go out and they have to, be, out there, outgoing, out and support. And not a lot of people are comfortable with that, and not a lot of people feel safe doing so, especially if you live in a place where if people see your face in a crowd, it can, hinder your job, they can affect your family. And so we understand that we're not guilting you into not doing enough.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, we're not pushing you to pick up a pitchfork and go out into the streets and start rioting or start protesting or anything like that. And we're not even asking you to donate your money, just your time and your voice. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
so that's all.
but so to end on a lighter note, because obviously the world is very heavy and a lot of people are struggling, be it with the current political climate we have going on, be it with the current social climate we have going on, or just in general a personal mental battle. Anyone who is listening to this, I want you to know that you are loved, that you are valid, that you are welcome here, that you are welcome to reach out to any of us. We see you, we know you, and we are here for you.
Yeah. We love you guys, especially. Thank you so much.
So yeah, and yeah, the world's heavy. So we try to be. I don't know if we actually recorded this part or if we just said it off camera, so to speak. But with the world as heavy as it is, we try to be the light in the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, and let's break the heaviness and the ooshy gushy things that everyone's going. Ugh.
That's not what I subscribed to this podcast for. I wanted unfeathered, funny antics of three strange women from all corners of the earth talking at the same time at each other.
I was promised meat at this table. So yes, and once again, thank you all so much for your overwhelming support. Thank you for answering our questions, for sharing everything. As we talked about earlier, just sharing something. Word of mouth is the most powerful tool that we have. So thank you so much.
And support really does mean a lot, guys. So we're just so thankful. We really are.
Yeah.
We are.
And we have fun just sitting here talking. So, and unfortunately, we didn't have any of those moments where we all forgot that we were being recorded, which I think that was genuinely the most favorite part for everyone, because a lot of my friends that did listen, they reached out and they were just they thought it was hysterical. And it's like, yeah, that wasn't scripted. None of this is scripted. That was legit.
Improv, guys. Improv.
Improv, yeah, we totally meant that. Yeah. And
Jazz hands, jazz hands.
jazz hands. The lesson that we can all take away from this is if you have a cyst, don't run your fingernail over it. Number one, I think that's an important lesson. And number two, when you're scared shitless, don't improv. Bad idea.
Yeah.
So
Don't chew gum after you've eaten something and you weren't feeling well before, so don't do that either.
yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't stick your head in car trunks.
Yeah, don't do that either. Try to avoid that as much as possible. But with that being said, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll hope to see you next week.
Thank you for joining us around the campfire. We'd like to thank Brett Van Donsel for providing the music, and you can find more of him on his website at brettvandonselmusic.com. You can find us on Twitter at CameoGang1899 and on YouTube at Around the Campfire Podcast. This is Catherine, riding off, and we'll see you around, cowpoke.